The quantum arrays beneath the Helios installation thrummed with barely contained power as Dr. Elena Martinez adjusted the final calculations. Humanity's first dimensional gate wasn't just another technological advancement. It was a fundamental reimagining of reality itself. The massive underground facility, buried deep beneath the New Mexican desert, housed what Elena hoped would change humanity's destiny forever. Quantum coherence at 98%, announced Dr. James Chen from his station, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. Whatever you did with those algorithms, it's working better than the simulations predicted. Elena allowed herself a small smile. After 15 years of work, they were finally ready to prove that space-time wasn't just a static framework, but a malleable canvas waiting to be reshaped. The gate itself looked deceptively simple, a 30-meter ring of gleaming metal and crystalline structures that pulsed with an inner light. Their triumph was interrupted by the facility's emergency sirens. Red warning lights bathed the control room in crimson as General Sarah Hayes burst through the doors, her usually composed features tight with tension. "Shut it down," she ordered. "We have multiple bogies entering the solar system. Nothing like we've ever seen before." The main display shifted to show feed from deep space telescopes. What appeared to be tears in the fabric of reality were opening throughout the solar system. From these wombs in space emerged vessels of impossible scale and geometry, shapes that seemed to defy Euclidean mathematics, their surfaces rippling with colors that shouldn't exist. Before anyone could react, every screen in the facility flickered. A figure appeared, vaguely humanoid but wrong in subtle ways that made the mind recoil. Multiple eyes arranged in fractal patterns gazed out at them. And when it spoke, its words emerged in perfect English, despite its clearly alien mouth. "People of Earth," the being announced, its voice resonating with harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "I am Overseer Salthrak of the Collective. Your species has been monitored since you first split the atom. Your potential for advancement has been noted, categorized, and deemed acceptable for integration. You will submit to collective authority or face immediate technological regression. You have 6 hours to prepare your leadership for preliminary occupation." The transmission cut off, leaving the control room in stunned silence. Elena's mind raced. The dimensional gate wasn't just a scientific breakthrough. It was now humanity's only hope. She turned to General Hayes, who was already reaching the same conclusion. "How close are you really?" Hayes asked, her voice low and urgent. "The gate is stable," Elena replied. "But we've never attempted a full-scale transit. The mathematics suggest we can do more than just create doorways through space-time. We can fundamentally alter how reality behaves around us. But it's all theoretical." "Theory's going to have to be enough," Hayes said, activating her neural link to the Global Defense Council. "Because in 6 hours, we either become a slave species or we show them why that's a bad idea." The next 5 hours were a blur of activity. Elena and her team modified the gate's parameters, pushing the boundaries of what they thought possible. They weren't just trying to create a portal anymore. They were attempting to prove that humanity's understanding of reality surpassed even that of their would-be conquerors. As the deadline approached, the alien vessels took up position around Earth, their impossible geometries casting strange shadows on the planet below. Inside the Helios installation, Elena initiated the final sequence. "Gate activation in 3 minutes," James announced, his voice steady despite the stakes. Quantum coherence holding at 99%. Elena watched as the gate began to spin, reality itself beginning to warp and bend around its circumference. What they were attempting went beyond mere transportation. They were about to demonstrate that humanity could reshape the fundamental laws of physics themselves. "They're powering up weapons," Hayes reported, watching the tactical displays. "Multiple targeting solutions locked on major cities. Initiating final sequence," Elena announced. The gate's spin reached its crescendo, the air itself seeming to crystallize around it. "What we're about to do isn't just about moving through space. We're about to change how space itself behaves." The alien vessels fired their first warning shots, beams of energy that should have devastated their targets. Instead, the attacks passed through space that suddenly didn't exist in the way it should, their deadly energy dispersing into pocket dimensions that Elena's team had theorized, but never created until this moment. Impossible. Zalthrak's voice boomed across all frequencies. Your species cannot have mastered dimensional engineering at this scale. Elena allowed herself a grim smile as she initiated the gate's final phase. That's humanity's secret, Overseer. We don't wait until we master something. We reach for the impossible and drag it into reality through sheer determination. The gate exploded into action, not just creating a portal but reshaping space-time itself around Earth. The alien vessels suddenly found themselves operating in a reality where their fundamental understanding of physics no longer applied. Their weapons fired into spaces that looped back on themselves. Their drives struggled against dimensional shears that shouldn't have been possible. What have you done? Zalthrak demanded, actual fear creeping into their harmonics. We didn't just study the universe, Elena broadcast back. We learned to rewrite its rules. Your collective sees reality as a fixed construct. We see it as a first draft, waiting to be edited. The alien fleet's perfect formation broke apart as ships struggled to operate in space that no longer behaved as it should. Some vessels found themselves occupying multiple positions simultaneously. Others discovered their weapons creating effects opposite to what was intended. After several tense minutes, the alien ships began to retreat, not in defeat, but in what Elena recognized as profound reconsideration. The voice of Zalthrak returned, but the imperial tone had been replaced by something closer to wary respect. The collective must reevaluate its position, they announced. Your species has achieved something we thought fundamentally impossible. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other. As the alien fleet withdrew, Elena finally allowed herself to breathe normally again. Humanity had faced its first major test among the stars, not with superior numbers or firepower, but by proving they could reshape reality itself to match their will. Well done, Doctor, Hayes said quietly. Though I suspect you've just changed more than just this battle. The galaxy's going to look very different now that humanity has arrived. Elena nodded, already seeing new possibilities in the equations dancing across her displays. That was always the goal, wasn't it? Not just to survive among the stars, but to reshape them in our image. She turned to her team, seeing the same mix of exhaustion and triumph on their faces. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start figuring out what other impossible things humanity can achieve. As celebrations broke out across Earth, Elena stayed in her lab, looking at new equations, new theories, new ways to bend reality to human will. The universe, they had proven, was far more malleable than anyone had imagined, and humanity was just getting started. 3 months after humanity's dramatic debut on the galactic stage, the Helios installation had transformed. What was once a secret underground facility now extended upward into the New Mexican sky, its crystalline spires housing humanity's most advanced dimensional research labs. In the main research chamber, Dr. Elena Martinez studied readings from their latest experiment with growing concern. The pocket universe is destabilizing again, she announced, watching as the softball-sized sphere of altered reality flickered ominously in its containment field. James, what are we missing? Dr. Chen adjusted multiple parameters on his console, his face illuminated by cascading data streams. The math says this should work. We can create stable dimensional gates, so why can't we maintain a persistent pocket dimension? The answer came from an unexpected source. Perhaps because you're thinking of them as separate phenomena, said Extel, the collective's chief scientist. The aliens' crystalline form shifted colors as they moved closer to the containment field, multiple sensor arrays extending from their body to analyze the failing experiment. Elena had grown used to Extel's presence over the past months, though the alien still unnerved her. The collective had quickly shifted from would-be conquerors to eager scientific collaborators. though Elena suspected their primary motivation was understanding how humanity had achieved what they considered impossible. Elaborate, Elena said, genuinely curious. While the collective's understanding of dimensional engineering was more limited than humanity's, their grasp of fundamental physics was still impressive. Your species creates dimensional gates by temporarily convincing spacetime that 2 points are adjacent. Tell explained, their translator rendering complex multidimensional concepts into English. But you're trying to create pocket universes by permanently convincing spacetime that something exists where it didn't before. The energy requirements are fundamentally different. Before Elena could respond, General Hayes entered the lab, her expression grave. Dr. Martinez, we have a situation. The collective's long-range sensors have detected something concerning. The main display activated, showing what appeared to be a massive distortion in spacetime, far beyond the solar system. What are we looking at? Elena asked, though something about the phenomenon's signature seemed hauntingly familiar. According to the collective's records, Hayes explained, it's similar to what preceded the disappearance of 3 advanced civilizations in the past millennium. They called it the Void Cascade, a progressive failure of space-time itself. Stell's crystalline form darkened. We never understood how it propagated. Our best theories suggested natural dimensional decay, but after seeing your technology, they left the implication hanging. Elena's mind raced. The distortions pattern matched certain aspects of their failed pocket universe experiments, but on a cosmic scale. It's not natural decay, she realized. Someone's been trying to create artificial universes without understanding the consequences. The failed attempts are creating tiers in spacetime that grow exponentially. How long? Hayes asked. At its current rate of expansion, Extel calculated, the cascade will reach both Earth and collective space within 6 months. Traditional evacuation is impossible. There's nowhere in this galaxy it won't eventually reach. Elena stared at the flickering pocket universe in the containment field, an idea forming. Maybe we're approaching this wrong, she said slowly. We've been trying to create perfect pocket universes, stable copies of our own reality. But what if we embrace the imperfection? She quickly pulled up their dimensional gate equations, making modifications as she spoke. Instead of fighting entropy, we work with it. Create temporary pocket universes designed to collapse in specific ways, using the energy release to reshape spacetime itself. You're suggesting we fight the cascade by intentionally creating controlled dimensional failures. Stell's tone conveyed both horror and fascination. The energy requirements would be astronomical. Then we'll need to think bigger than gates, Elena said, her fingers flying across the console. We'll need to convert entire star systems into dimensional engines, not to create new universes, but to reinforce the fabric of this one. Hayes studied the preliminary calculations. How many systems? At least 12, perfectly synchronized. Elena replied. We'll need the collective's help. Humanity's dimensional technology combined with their expertise in stellar engineering. To attempt this would violate multiple fundamental laws of the collective. Stell said, their crystalline form pulsing with agitation. To deliberately engineer stellar bodies for dimensional manipulation. Your laws were written before you met us, Elena countered. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our willingness to try the impossible when the alternative is extinction. After a long moment, Stell's form brightened slightly. Perhaps that is why the universe arranged our meeting. Not for us to teach you restraint, but for you to teach us courage. As the others began preliminary planning, Elena returned to the failing pocket universe experiment. Its containment field now showed exactly how it would collapse, not as a catastrophic failure, but as a controlled release of dimensional energy. Sometimes, she realized, the most important discoveries came not from succeeding, but from understanding why you failed. Humanity's first steps into the galaxy nearly led to war, she mused. Now we might have to save it by breaking it just enough to make it stronger. She smiled slightly. Somehow, that feels appropriate. The next few months would test both humanity and the collective, pushing both civilizations beyond their established limits. But as Elena watched her team begin work on the most ambitious engineering project in known history, she felt a familiar surge of determination. The universe had presented them with an impossible problem, and that was exactly the kind of problem humanity excelled at solving. The Proxima Centauri research station hung in space like a massive crystalline snowflake, its geometry a blend of human ingenuity and collective architecture. Inside the central laboratory, Dr. Elena Martinez watched as the first test of their stellar dimensional engine began to take shape. The nearest star to Earth's sun had become their proving ground for what many considered an impossible project. Dimensional field stabilizing at 30% capacity, James announced, his holographic displays showing the complex interplay of forces they were attempting to control. The stellar core is responding exactly as predicted. Excel's crystalline form shifted through shades of deep blue. What Elena had learned was their expression of scientific excitement. Remarkable. Your species' understanding of dimensional manipulation continues to exceed our projections. Elena studied the real-time data from their stellar probes. They had effectively turned Proxima Centauri into a vast dimensional engine, using its core processes to generate and channel dimensional energy in ways that neither humanity nor the collective had thought possible just months ago. Alert, the station's AI announced suddenly. Unknown energy signature detected at the edge of the system. The main display shifted to show what appeared to be a ripple in spacetime, similar to but distinctly different from their own dimensional technologies. Before anyone could react, the ripple expanded, and a massive vessel emerged, its design unlike anything from either human or collective archives. Broadcasting on all frequencies, the vessel announced in multiple languages simultaneously. This is the archival ship Mnemosyne. We have detected dimensional engineering beyond known parameters. Explain yourselves. Elena shared a look with Extel, whose crystalline form had shifted to alert colors. The collective scientist transmitted quickly. The legends speak of the archivists, an ancient species that disappeared eons ago after achieving dimensional transcendence. We thought them myths. General Hayes, who had been overseeing the security aspects of their project, stepped forward. This is a joint human collective research initiative. We are attempting to counter a void cascade that threatens multiple sectors of space. The archivist vessel's response was immediate. The cascade, our final warning, ignored by so many. You seek to fight it rather than flee. Interesting. A figure materialized in their laboratory. A being of pure energy and geometric patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human mind could process. I am Observer Theta. We have watched countless civilizations fall to the cascade, their attempts to fight it only hastening their doom. Then why didn't you help them? Elena challenged, her scientific curiosity overcoming her awe. If you understood the threat, why just watch? Because none before had the correct approach, Theta replied, their form shifting as they examined the laboratory's equipment. All attempted to fight the cascade directly, to seal the tears in space-time. But you seek to remake space-time itself, to change the fundamental rules that allow the cascade to exist. Extel's form pulsed with surprise. You're saying our approach might actually work. More than that, Theta said, moving to examine their stellar engine calculations. You may have stumbled upon what we sought for millions of years, a way to stabilize not just space-time, but reality itself. Elena felt a familiar surge of excitement, the same feeling she'd had when they'd first activated the dimensional gate. Then help us. If you've been studying this phenomenon for so long, your knowledge could be invaluable. Theta's form seemed to consider this for a long moment. Perhaps this is why we chose to remain. Not to simply observe, but to wait for those who might succeed where we failed. Your species, Dr. Martinez, approaches problems in ways we never considered. And the collective, they turn to Extel. Your understanding of cosmic engineering could be the key to implementation. But we must act quickly, Hayes interjected. The cascade continues to expand. We've detected new tiers forming at an accelerating rate. Then let us combine our knowledge, Theta declared. The archivist's understanding of dimensional mechanics, the collective's stellar engineering, and humanity's unique approach to reshaping reality itself. Together, we might achieve what each of us alone could not. As the others began sharing data and theories, Alina found herself drawn to a new set of calculations forming in her mind. The stellar engine they'd built was just the beginning. With the archivist's knowledge, they might be able to do more than just stop the cascade. They could fundamentally reshape how reality itself behaved. When humanity first reached for the stars, she mused to herself, "We never imagined we'd end up trying to rewrite the laws of physics themselves." She smiled slightly. Then again, that's always been our species' greatest strength, doing the impossible simply because no one told us we couldn't. The next few weeks would prove crucial as three vastly different civilizations worked to save not just their own existence, but the very fabric of space-time itself. But as Alina watched humans, collective scientists, and archivist entities working side by side, she felt a growing certainty that together, they would find a way. After all, that's what happened when you combined humanity's determination to break boundaries with the knowledge of those who had spent eons studying them. The combined fleet of human, collective, and archivist vessels assembled at the edge of the void cascade, hung against the backdrop of distorted space like a constellation of defiance. From the bridge of the newly commissioned Earth ship Prometheus, Dr. Elena Martinez watched as reality itself seemed to tear and twist before them. Final stellar engine network activation in 3 minutes, James reported, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. The 12 star systems they had converted into dimensional engines pulsed with carefully controlled energy, their light distorted by the layers of altered spacetime surrounding them. Archivist sensors detect acceleration in the cascade's expansion. Observer Theta announced, their energy form shifting through patterns of concern. The void tiers are becoming self-sustaining faster than our models predicted. Through the main viewport, Alina could see the horrifying beauty of their enemy. The void cascade looked like a cosmic tapestry unraveling, threads of reality coming apart to reveal the nothingness between universes. Already, 3 star systems had been consumed, their light twisted, and eventually extinguished as spacetime itself ceased to exist within the cascade's influence. Collective fleet reports ready. Stel transmitted from their command ship. Our stellar engineers are synchronized with all 12 dimensional engines. We await your signal. Elena took a deep breath, reviewing their plan one final time. They weren't just trying to stop the cascade. They were attempting to fundamentally alter how reality behaved on a cosmic scale. The stellar engines would create a controlled network of dimensional folds, essentially rewriting the laws of physics within their sphere of influence. Alert! The Prometheus's AI announced suddenly. Unknown entity detected within the cascade boundary. The main display shifted, showing something that made Alina's breath catch. Within the swirling chaos of the cascade, a vast consciousness was taking shape, a being born from the broken laws of physics themselves. Fascinating and troubling. Theta observed. The cascade isn't just destroying reality. It's becoming aware. The void between universes is developing sentience. How is this possible? General Hayes demanded from her command station. The tiers in spacetime, Elena realized, her mind racing. They're not just random damage, they're forming neural pathways. The cascade isn't just a phenomenon. It's becoming a life form that exists by consuming reality itself. The void entities seemed to notice their presence. Tendrils of unreality reached out toward their fleet, spacetime distorting wherever they touched. Several smaller vessels had to emergency jump to avoid being caught in zones where physics itself ceased to function. We need to act now, Elena announced, her fingers flying across the control interface. James, begin the activation sequence. Stel, synchronize your stellar engineers. Theta, we'll need the archivist's dimensional anchors at full power. The 12 stellar engines began to pulse in perfect harmony, their energies guided by human ingenuity, collective precision, and archivist wisdom. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as they attempted something never before conceived, the deliberate rewriting of cosmic law. The entity is reacting, Hayes reported, watching as the void consciousness twisted toward their operation. It recognizes the threat. No, Elena corrected, understanding flooding her mind as she watched the entity's movements. It recognizes an opportunity. It's not just consuming reality. It's trying to understand it. And we're about to show it something new. Making a decision that would either save or doom them all, Elena modified the stellar engine network's parameters. Instead of trying to destroy or contain the void entity, she adjusted their dimensional fields to communicate with it. Dr. Martinez, Hayes warned, "What are you doing?" "Taking a chance on understanding," Elena replied. "Humanity's greatest achievements have always come not from destroying what we don't understand, but from finding ways to comprehend it." The void entity paused its advance, its vast consciousness touching the edges of their dimensional fields. Through the network of stellar engines, Elena sent not attacks but information, the combined knowledge of 3 civilizations about the nature of reality itself. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the entity began to change. Its chaotic tendrils of unreality began to take on structure, its consumption of space-time becoming more controlled, more purposeful. "It's learning," Theta observed with something like awe in their multidimensional voice, adapting its existence to preserve reality rather than consume it. "All stellar engines holding stable," James reported. "The Cascade's expansion has stopped. In fact, it's beginning to contract." Elena watched as the void entity began to help repair the very tears in reality it had been created from. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the solution isn't to fight chaos, but to help it understand order." A very human perspective. Extel transmitted, their tone carrying both amusement and respect. To look at a universe-ending threat and see an opportunity for dialogue. As their combined fleet watched in amazement, the void entity continued its transformation. The Cascade was being sealed not through force, but through understanding. They hadn't just saved reality. They had helped birth a new form of consciousness that existed in harmony with it rather than in opposition to it. "Ready all sensors," Elena ordered. "We're about to witness something unprecedented, the birth of a being that exists between realities. And thanks to our cooperation, it's going to be an ally rather than an enemy." The cosmos itself seemed to shimmer as human determination, collective precision, and archivist knowledge combined to turn what could have been the end of everything into the beginning of something entirely new. 1 year after the transformation of the Void Cascade, the Helios installation had become the heart of something unprecedented, the first true inter-reality research center. The Void entity, which had chosen to call itself the Observer, maintained a constant presence there, its transformed consciousness serving as a bridge between normal space-time and the dimensions beyond. Dr. Elena Martinez stood in the newly constructed reality interface chamber, watching as streams of data flowed through holographic displays. The chamber itself was a marvel of combined technology, human dimensional engineering, collective precision mechanics, and archivist wisdom, all working in perfect harmony. "Phase alignment stable at 100%, James announced from his station, now augmented with crystalline collective interfaces. The Observer is ready to begin the examination. Through their newly developed communication protocols, the Observer's vast consciousness touched the edges of their reality. Its presence no longer inspired terror, but a sense of wonder. What had once been a force of destruction had become their greatest teacher about the nature of existence itself. "We are ready," the Observer communicated, its thoughts translated into concepts they could understand. "Today, we attempt to glimpse what lies beyond the boundaries of known dimensions." Extel's crystalline form shifted through patterns of scientific excitement as they coordinated with their stellar engineering network. The collective had transformed as much as the observer over the past year, learning to embrace innovation rather than fear it. All stellar observers report ready. The dimensional network is stable. General Hayes, now director of the United Earth Defense and Research Initiative, watched from her command station. To think, a year ago we were fighting for our very existence. Now we're about to deliberately look beyond the edges of reality itself. Elena smiled as she initiated the final sequence. That's always been humanity's way, hasn't it? We turn our greatest challenges into our greatest opportunities for advancement. The reality interface chamber hummed with power as they began their most ambitious experiment yet. Through their connection with the observer, they weren't just studying reality. They were attempting to perceive the space between universes, the fundamental structure that held existence itself together. Contact established, the observer announced, preparing to extend perception beyond conventional dimensional boundaries. The chamber's displays erupted with information as the observer shared what it perceived. Elena and her team watched in awe as they saw, for the first time, the true nature of reality. Not a single universe, but an infinite array of possibilities, all connected by the same fundamental forces they had learned to manipulate. Remarkable. Theta commented, their energy form pulsing with excitement. In all our eons of observation, we never achieved this level of understanding. It took the combination of human innovation, collective precision, and our knowledge, plus the unique perspective of the observer, to finally see the full picture. Multiple universe clusters detected, James reported, his voice filled with wonder. Each with its own set of physical laws, yet all connected by underlying patterns. It's beautiful. Elena studied the data with growing excitement. We're not just seeing other universes, she realized. We're seeing how reality itself evolves and adapts. The void between universes isn't empty. It's the foundation that allows existence itself to function. A foundation we now understand how to work with, Extel added, thanks to human determination to push beyond established limits. The observer's consciousness rippled with what Elena had learned to recognize as joy. Your species' greatest gift, it communicated, is not your technology or your understanding of dimensional mechanics. It is your ability to face the unknown not with fear, but with curiosity. To see in the darkness not an enemy, but an opportunity for illumination. As they continued to gather data, Elena reflected on how far they had come. What had started as a desperate attempt to protect Earth from alien invasion had led them to reshape their understanding of reality itself. Humanity had not just survived among the stars. They had helped transform how multiple civilizations viewed existence itself. Begin compilation of the Universal Codex, she announced. It's time we started sharing this knowledge with everyone. Not just Earth, not just the collective, but any civilization ready to look beyond their own boundaries. A new age of exploration, Hayes mused. Not just of space, but of reality itself. And we'll face it together, Elena added, watching as humans, collective crystals, archivist energy forms, and the observer's consciousness all worked in harmony. Because that's the greatest lesson we've learned. The universe isn't just something to be observed or conquered. It's something to be understood and shaped through cooperation and innovation. As the reality interface chamber continued to reveal the secrets of existence, Elena couldn't help but smile. Humanity had reached for the stars and found not just new frontiers, but new ways of thinking about reality itself. They had proved that the impossible was just a challenge waiting to be overcome, and that the greatest discoveries came not from following established rules, but from daring to write new ones. The universe, they had learned, was not a fixed stage, but a canvas of infinite possibilities. And together with their new allies, humanity was ready to paint upon it with colors that had never existed before.